The next one that's going to talk here is Mark Seier from up at Newman Grove, and he's been teaching, actually it'd be science education for what, how many years? 45. So he started when he's a kid. He's still a kid. So, okay, so Mark.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to keep my part of this really short, I hope. Yes, I am involved in this project, but as I tell the students back there, I ain't doing the work, okay? My job is to inspire, which I struggle hard at once in a while, but to inspire, to provide them with some resources and some logistics, and then get the heck out of their way, okay? And what's going to get done is going to be done by them. And so they are putting on this part of the talk here also. I've got some great help. I want to mention Kylie Sweeter back there and our ag education instructor as the other sponsor for this, and she should come up and give a speech too. You got that ready right now, or no, not right now. Okay, that'll be for another day. But I have a student here. She's our senior. I brought 5 students with me. I could not bring any student who was involved in athletics. I struggled with that, but if they had athletics, practice came first. So I've got 5 students left who are not in athletics to come here and talk to you today. One of them will speak here, and then the rest of them can answer questions for you in our small sessions afterwards. The student I've been talking a little bit is Abby Pohlen, and she's been active in this project for quite some time. If you get a chance, she's co-authored an article in the American Waters Resource Association magazine called Impact, and I think she did a very good job. She had some help. I think she would very much acknowledge the fact she had a lot of help. But she's going to talk about our website and then talk a little bit, or show a little bit of video after that. So, Abby, if you want to come forward.
All right, so my name is Abigail Pohlen. I'm a senior, as Mr. Seier said. I've been a part of this group for about 3 years now. And I'm going to show you our lovely website. We've recently tried to update it as much as possible to keep our information as accurate as possible. So the first part of our website, the About, it just tells you a little bit of background information about our project and what we do. A lot of the information of what Gene Wissenberg had already said. Then what is also really special about our website is that we have a GIS map, which shows where our sites are actually located. And I won't go too into detail about this, but if you click on some of those triangles, it shows you data, and you can go back and you can mess around with that. It's really neat. We're very fortunate that Chris Poole at the Lower Platte North NRD, we send our information in for the past year. He will enter that in and make sure that our website is up to date. Then we also have a link to the UGSS Live Monitor. If anyone's interested in that, you can look up wherever you would like to see any information that you would need. And then our data tab has all of our PowerPoints from the last years. They're very interesting to go back and see the changes along the years and how much more accurate our data has gotten. We are still working on the 2019 PowerPoint that will be ready by November, which is when we give our presentation to the Lower Platte North and whoever else decides to show up. And then we have our Water Quality Index tab. It shows you the 9 tests that we perform. All of us students perform it. Us seniors, we teach the freshmen how to do it and tell them how important it is to keep this going, because it really is an amazing thing to be a part of. And then we have our sample chart of our WQI. This is where we get our numbers after doing some lovely math. We will put them in and correspond with the chart. And then how we get those numbers is our WQI chart, and it shows how weighted each of our 9 tests are. So our most important one would be dissolved oxygen, obviously, because any living thing in that water is going to need the oxygen in that. And then our next one is macroinvertebrates. We always we have a hard time with this one just because not all of us are into it, but not all of us like bugs, okay? We see if we have our sensitive, somewhat sensitive, or our tolerant ones. Recently, after flooding and stuff, it has been hard to find any sort of creatures living in the water. That could also be due to where we try to collect. But if it's a good day and if the water's not too crazy, we do have students who will go out with our D-nets and collect samples, and then we'll bring it back and look at what kind of species they are, if they're sensitive or tolerant. Then our next one is a flood study. We haven't done a flood study since 2007. We probably could have done ones recently. We just have been a little busy. It just goes through what that student did to get that information, and what our main concerns are after floods and possibly what we can do to help that. And then on our more, we have a fish study. If any of you know Sean Ferrier, he works with the Game of Parks now. He is one of the students who put this together. He is also probably one of the last ones to put this together. It's, like I said earlier, with our water quality recently, it's been hard to find any fish in the water at all. And if you scroll down, it gives you what species were in the water when they went out and collected it. And then if you scroll down more, it shows you a graph of just a different representation of it and why they chose to do that project. And if you go back over to more, we have some pictures. We were lucky enough to get some really good shots from Nebraska Loves Public Schools when they came out and interviewed us. And we also have a list of all of our participants from the last 18 years. And what else? We have the publications, which I'm pretty proud of. And we have our sponsors and where we can have other people contact us, which I think is also pretty important. And then, so you don't have to sit there and listen to me talk more about this lovely project, I'm going to show a video that explains our project and why we love our project and why it's so near and dear to our hearts better than I can explain it.
Well, you know, any small town was formed along a creek for a water source, and this creek, as far as I know, was never used to provide a lumber mill or a feed mill or a grist mill, but it provided a water source. It was a place for the people to congregate. I mean, the creek was where the town was formed.
This is my home territory. I grew up on the Shell Creek northwest of Newman Grove, and it's always been our creek. My brother and I, we spent oodles of time on the Shell Creek, and probably more than we should have, according to my mom, but we grew up less than a mile away from the Shell Creek.
The Shell Creek Watershed project has always been part of our school.
We started the Shell Creek Watershed project back in 2002.
Farming systems over the years have really evolved into pretty much a corn-soybean rotation. Now, corn and soybeans are very important crops in our country. But on the other hand, soybeans are probably the worst crop we can raise as far as soil erosion is concerned.
We could see an increased erosion and flooding problem, and we just got together and decided that we ought to do something about it.
They wanted to try and make some improvements in the farming practices along the Shell Creek, and they felt the only way that they could know whether improvements were being made is if you know where you're at now. So we started out collecting baseline data, and since they liked the baseline data and what we were doing, they asked if we would continue. It's strictly a summer program, completely voluntary. We take 2 days at the end of May.
One of the first stages we go through when we first start in the month of May is teaching, because we had a lot of new newbies is what we call them this year. So we had to teach them all the different tests we do, how to run the tests, making sure they do the right procedures.
And then we take 2 days in June, 2 days in July, and 2 days just before school starts in August. And that way we've got a full summer's scope of information.
When I came to help load the vans, they're getting out these hip waders that come up to their chest, rubber boots, gloves, and long extensions, and then they get into the creek, and that's where they are. They're in the creek, and that was amazing to me.
My biggest responsibility is usually keeping track of data and running the chemical tests.
Yeah, we have 9 different chemical tests that we do.
Dissolved oxygen. We have biological oxygen demand needs to be done.
Nitrates, phosphates.
I'm the nitrate guru, have been since I started.
pH, turbidity.
We've got a fecal coliform test. I'm probably missing a couple, but there are 9 tests to a standard called a water quality index number, and that says whether the water is poor quality, fair quality, good quality, or excellent quality.
To see these kids working out here, that's really, well, that's the best part.
The first impression I had with this was it was amazing what the kids were willing to do, that they were here on their own voluntary reasons, and they are not afraid to get in the water, to get dirty, and they have a lot of fun.
It means a lot to have my grandfather by my side.
This is my third granddaughter. My oldest granddaughter on my son's side, she was in the original one. Brooke is really, this is her thing, and she couldn't wait to get started. As a summer program, you'd think that, well, they can find something better to do, but it's not. This is their thing. It's a badge of honor.
I'm definitely going to be back next year after I graduate and be still continuing the project.
People appreciate what I do, and it's fun. There's a lot of memories that we make here, and it's just a good thing to be a part of.
It means a lot to me to be able to give back and to do my part in making a difference.
They put on a program at the community center, and we might have 80 people there watching. I mean, it's really a really good thing to see the community come together for a common purpose.
I think it's helped a lot of the farmers to figure out where all of their soil's going and different aspects like that. It really helps when the community listens to us, and it's when you walk into our city cafe or you walk into the grocery store and, oh, how's the water sampling going? And that really, really makes you feel like you're doing something special.
Changes in the students, they've gained confidence, and they can do this, and we can do this, and we will do this.
Most science is learned in classrooms, and unfortunately most science is learned out of cookbook labs where we already know what the answers are going to be before we ever start the lab. And that stuff needs to be done. It does. To learn the concept, to learn the technique, we do need to be in the classroom to learn the concepts. But if you're ever going to get students excited about science, they have to be out and do it and discover things that are not known yet.
And that's why Nebraska loves
Our public schools.
Nebraska loves
Our public schools.
Nebraska loves
Our public schools.
Nebraska loves
Our public schools.